Good morning, everyone. I am Joanne Catherine Z. Validor of Hasaan National High School Division of Misamis Oriental. And today, I am going to share to you the guide in developing content and script writing fundamentals as presented by Professor Elenita Ke of UP Diliman and Professor John Paul F. Maligalig of the UP College of Education during our national webinar on the basic video production. So to begin, let us first have the guide in developing content. Developing content is the very first step in writing a script. So before you write the script, we have to make sure that we have already conceptualized the content of our video instruction. Developing content is organizing the content in a logical and progressive way. Why do we need to do that? It is because we have to make sure that the content of our video production or our video instruction is conceptually related. Second, we have to make sure also that it is more meaningful and more importantly, it should be easier to understand by our learners. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by chunking the content. Just like when we are eating a watermelon, we cannot eat the whole thing, right? So we need to divide the watermelon into pieces so it could be consumed by us. So it's just like that in video production. We have to break down the information into bite-sized pieces. Why? Because we have to make sure that our content has to work with our working memory. Now, basing on the information processing theory, if we are aware of this one, or for those who are aware, I'm going to refresh you with the information processing theory. When we process information, the information comes first through our senses. So it could be through our sense of seeing, hearing, touching, and so on. Now, from these senses, this information is brought to our short-term memory. Okay? Now, our short-term memory is also what we call as our working memory. Now, being the people that were tasked to make video instructions or video production, we have to make sure that the video that we are going to show to our students is meaningful in their working memory. Because if it does not work with their working memory, it will never become part of their long-term memory. Okay? So, the theory on information processing is one of the very important factors that we need to remember when we are going to make our scripts for our video instruction or video production. Moving on, there are 4 steps in chunking the content. The first one is we have to start at the highest level. The second is that modules must be transformed into lessons and into topics. The third one is that we have to chunk at the screen level. And then finally, we have to do a working memory check. Now, to explain further, step 1, we have to start at the highest level. What does this mean? This means that we have to determine the content hierarchy by using the organizational strategies. So if given a topic, we have to identify on how are we going to organize these content. Are we going to organize it alphabetically or categorically? Or shall we use the cause and effect, or the inherent structure, the order of importance, the simple to complex? Will it be sequential? Will it be spiral? Will it be subordinate to higher level or hierarchical? Or should it be whole to parts? Well, that will really depend on the subject matter that we are working with or working on. Now, the second step is we have to make sure that modules were subdivided or subtasked into different lessons, and then from the lessons to different topics. Now, we are lucky here in DepEd because as we go into the new normal, the Department of Education has already looked into our learning competencies and has come up with the MELCs, the most essential learning competencies. So it will not be hard for us to do step 1 and step 2 because it's being done for us. Now, our task here is to do step number 3. The first one is to chunk at the screen level. How do we do that? We have to remember this one. The ratio 1 is to 1. Which means that in creating our video presentations, or may it be our PowerPoint presentations, it should be that one chunk of related information per screen should be seen by our learners. Or to make it simpler, it should be one content per slide. We should not lump many information into one slide because that will be difficult to process and to remember by our learners. Step 4. Do a working memory check. How do we do that? Simple. Always remember that less is more. Less is more. Visuals and text in multimedia lessons lessen demands on the working memory. In as much as we want to be very creative and we want that our presentations and our videos will be very appealing to our learners, we should always remember that we should make it simple and that the key and information, the very important information should be very clear in our videos. So we should not put a lot of text or a lot of graphics if it does not help in the delivery of our subject matter. Next, what are the factors to consider in chunking the content? First is we have to consider the attention span of our learners. Second, we should also remember the primacy or the recency effect. And then the third one, we have to consider the capacity of our working memory. How does it work? Okay, for attention span, the rule of thumb here is that age is equal attention span. So the younger our learner, the younger our audience, the shorter the attention span is. Now, second factor is the primacy or the recency effect. Now, what is this? We have to put in mind that we remember best that which is presented first. Meaning to say, kung ano yung una nating nakita, yun yung pinaka-naalala natin. That's why they say, first impression lasts, di ba? Now, the second best is that which comes last. And then the least, that which comes just the middle. The least we remember is that what's in the middle. So therefore, when we're going to make our video presentation, ladies and gentlemen, we have to put in the first part the most important things. And then in the middle, let's place the least important things, probably the games and all, and then or the other extra information or drills. And then when it is about to end, that's where we are going to put the second, right? So how does it look like? It will look like this. Given that we're going to make a 20-minute learning episode, we have to make sure that in the first 10 minutes of our presentation, all the things that are very important in the video lesson will be presented. And then the least important will be presented from the 12th to 13th hour, or 14th, not hour, 13th minute. And then we'll go back again to the 15th to probably the 18th minute for the second best things that you want our learners to remember in your video presentation. Now, let's move on to the third factor, which is the capacity of our working memory. According to Salsa, the capacity of our working memory depends on our age, right? So if the learner rather is 5 years old and younger, so the minimum capacity of its working memory is only one chunk, okay? The maximum capacity is 3 chunks. So therefore, its average capacity is only 2 chunks of information. Now, remember, in the screen time, the screen level, chunk at the screen level, it says 1 chunk per learning information. Okay? Now, if it's between 5 to 14 years old, it will have more number of chunks in its working memory. Its minimum is 3, its maximum is 7, and its average is 5 chunks of their working memory. And if it's 14 years old and older, the minimum capacity of the working memory in the number of chunks is 5, maximum is 9, and the average is 7. Now, if we're going to work on the 20-minute learning episode, how will it look like if we're going to put episodes in this 20-minute learning episode? It will look like this. So I will have prime time number 1, my downtime, and my prime time number 2 in 20 minutes. So my prime time number 1 will be on the first 12 minutes of my video instruction. What am I going to put here? In here, I'm going to establish the classroom or the context setting. I'm going to introduce myself, I'm going to introduce the teacher, and then I'm going to give the objectives, or I will have purpose setting, and then I'm going to give the overview of what are the expected outputs at the end of this video lesson, and then I'm going to present the lesson or the concept development. Now, on the 13th and the 14th minute of my video presentation, I'm going to practice the use of the new skill or give feedback, or probably I'm going to have a game or an icebreaker because it's downtime. That's the least that could be remembered by the students. And then when I reach the 15th and the 20th minute, between the 15th and the 20th minute of my video instruction, I need to make sure that in my video presentation or in my video instruction, I was already able to synthesize what the students learned or applied. And then I need to summarize the prime time number 1 and the downtime. I need to give the reflection of the lesson or guide the students in reflecting the lesson and then give the assignment and the agreement. So it's basically just like when we are in the classroom. The flow of the video instruction is just like when we are in the classroom, but we have to be very time conscious that that it is on a 20-minute running time. Or if you want, it could be a 40-minute running time, but there is a specification when is it 20 and when is it 40. And I'll be discussing that later on. So let's having those information. Now that we know all of those, now we are ready to write our scripts. Okay? We have to consider two things first. Number one, we have to know our audience in write the script, okay? And then the second one is we have to write sound objectives. So you see, in knowing our audience, as script writers, we have to know their age group. To whom are we going to present this video instruction? Are we going to present this to the preschoolers, to the grades 1 and 2, to the junior high school, or to the senior high school students? Next, as what I've said, we have to consider also the grade level and of course their interests and their socioeconomic status. There are a lot more things that we can consider, but these are just examples. Second consideration is we have to write sound objectives. Very good objectives. Now, this is very easy for us considering that we are all teachers and we are used to writing objectives. So you see, it's not only in writing our DLLs that we have to have objectives. In our video instructions, we also need to write objectives. And it should also be smart. Okay? So when we say smart, it should be simple, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic, and it should be time-bound. Now, I understand that I don't need to expound on that because I'm very sure we're all well aware and experts in writing objectives. Okay? So, scripts. In writing an educational in writing a script for an educational video, we have to have several scripts. Okay? The first one is we're going to write a narrative script. What is a narrative script? It's a script that narrates what happens in the entire video instruction. So everything is there, from instructions to the dialogues and everything. The next one, after we have written the narrative script, we have to write the storyboard. What is a storyboard? A storyboard is an illustration of the scenes as reflected in the narrative script. And then the last one is we have to have our production script. Now, what's a production script? The production script is the combination of the narrative script and the storyboard. Later, you're going to see examples. Now, here are some tips. In writing your script, in writing the dialogues of your script, we should remember that should be writing in conversational language. Okay? So, it's different when we are going to be in a classroom. We have to make sure that when we're going to do video instructions, it's as if we are talking individually to our students, or it's as if we are talking to our friends. Very casual, very conversational. Why? So that we can get their attention. KISS. Keep it short and simple. Write in the active voice. And then simplify text, especially the figures. That should be figures. Right? Or tips. Audio and visuals must go together. Of course, It should be that what you're saying is what you are seeing. Unlike radio script, you need in radio broadcast, in delivering radio lessons, you need to describe everything so that the student will be able to picture out what you're trying to say. In TV, it's different because we are using both our eyes and our ears. So it must be that what we see, what our learners see, and what they hear go together well. Okay? Next, outline your script in a logical order. Of course, we have to do that para hindi malito yung mga estudyante. And then, take note of the running time. This is what I'm saying a while ago. If it's narrative video or tutorial format, if you're demonstrating or something like that, if it's tutorial, it will be 10 minutes only. Okay? If it's program or lesson, it will be 20 minutes. Yun lang. Short. If you have already watched the dry run of the DepEd TV in IBC 13, you notice that the TV programs per grade level per subject runs only for 20 minutes. So that's the explanation. Because they're delivering a program or a lesson. That's 20 minutes. If it's narrative, tutorial video, or a demo, it should only be 10. Okay, sample scripts. This is how a narrative script will look like. Okay, so in here, in the header, we will be able to see the grade level, the subject, and the narrative script draft. It's a script draft. Why? It is understood that when we write the script, it's not final yet because it will still be subject for editing. Okay, story conferencing. Now, in the narrative script, you will have first the title. So you are going to write the title for your episode, your topic, your treatment. What do you mean by treatment? Is it a narrative lecture or a narrative tutorial? Okay? So you have, again, if it's narrative lecture, it's 20 minutes. If it's narrative tutorial, the video running time is 10 minutes. Running time, 5 minutes na lang nilagay dito, diba? So, script writer, you need to write the name of the script writer. For us, this is our output. Ang sinulat namin is region 10. Okay? Because that was the instruction also. And then you have the instructional objectives. So, after watching the video, the learners should be able to, number 1, number 2, number 3. So, it should be smart. It should be behavioral also. And then, if you notice the script in here, that's numbered. Why is it numbered? It's numbered because during the story conference, after you write the script, your team members will come together and you have to discuss the script. So, for it to be followed easily, yung discussion nyo para mas madali, if there are corrections, like that, you can just mention line number 1. Or in page number 2, line number 8, I think it should be that the instruction should be like this. Now, in writing the script, okay, all the instructions must be written in bold, capital letters, underlined. And then all the dialogues must be written in normal, not capitalized. Normal way of typing it. Okay? Why? Why should it be like that? It should be like that so that we will be able to distinguish which one is for dialogue and which one is an instruction. The instructions, the bold and the capitalized one, is for the video editor, the animators, and the illustrators. Now, the not capitalized one is for your talent or your broadcaster. So let's move on to a sample storyboard. So how does it look like? Now, let's take a look at this one. So this is our narrative script. So our storyboard will be based on our narrative script. So in here, the OBB or the opening billboard. I guess those who are oriented with the TV broadcasting or the radio broadcasting, we all know what OBB is. Parang it's an introduction of the show. Now, the next instruction is fade in to medium shot, normal angle of the teacher with a picture of the community in his background. Okay. So, the storyboard will be the illustration of this medium shot, normal angle with the picture of the community. And it will look like this one. So, we have the medium shot, normal angle of teacher Rani with the community in his background. So, that's the sample storyboard. So, lahat ng naka-bold, underline, capitalized, the illustrator will have to make an illustration to make a storyboard. Now, after everything has been illustrated, we will move on now to the production script. Now, let's review. This is our narrative script, right? So, in our narrative script, again, we will be able to see the instructions for the video as well as the dialogues. Now, from the narrative script, we were able to make our storyboard out of the instructions that were given, descriptive instructions on how it should look like. So, we have an illustration here. Now, in the production script, we are going to combine the storyboard, this one, and the narrative script, and it will look like this. So, in your production script, you will still be able to see this one, itong mga preliminaries like the title, the topic, your objectives, and so on. But, it will have now a 3-column table. In the first column, you will be able to see here the storyboard or shot number. Now, all of the illustrations found in your storyboard will be placed here. Now, in your narrative script will be divided into 2 columns. All the instructions, all those that were bold, capitalized, and underlined will be placed under the description of the visual. Okay? And then, all those that were not bold, capitalized, and underlined, naka-normal lang na typewritten, the dialogues in your narrative script will be placed under the audio voice over column. So, ayan. So, until na matapos lahat ng script niyo with the storyboard and the narrative script. And that will be your production script. So, are you ready to make your production script, your storyboard, and your narrative scripts? Bet you will be ready because you're not going to work on it alone. You will be working in a team. Now, what's the composition of the team and the roles? There will be 5 members in a team. Okay? The first is your scriptwriter and broadcaster. So therefore, kung sino yung nagsulat, siya din yung mag-broadcast. Or kayo, if you have somebody else. Okay? What does he do? He does audience analysis and topic research. Of course, because he's going to write the script. So he's going to write the script and delivers the broadcast. The next is your illustrator. He's the one responsible for the storyboard. And he manually prepares the graphics. So, he's the one who draws it or draws it in the Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever program that is going to use to make the illustrations. And then you have your videographer or your animator. So if you're going to take a live video, so this person is going to take the shots, all right? Or if not, he's going to be your animator. He's going to make the animations of your video instruction. Okay? He's going to make the motion pictures. And then, of course, you have your video editor. So, he is the one who edits the video according to the script. So, the video editor will depend on your production script. Okay? And then, he is also the one who mixes the audio elements. So, when you say audio elements, all those na naka-voice over, yung lahat ng sinabi ng broadcaster, and the music. So, pwedeng lagyan ng music background, so on. So, he's the one responsible for that. And the last but not the least is your content editor. Your content editor is somewhat like a quality control. So, he is the one who oversees everything. He presides the story conferences, reviews the script, makes sure that what was written were correct, were accurate, were precise. He should be a master of the topic so that he can counter check if yung sinulat ng script writer is right, hindi mali. Okay? And he also has to make sure that all the illustrations and the animations and the videos are complementary and it matches also the script that was written by the script writer. Right? So these are the 5 team members of the basic video production webinar teams. Okay, so from here you're going to proceed with your workshop on writing the script. So thank you very much. Should you have any questions, you can write it down or ask it. So thank you very much for listening. God bless everyone.